I had initially recorded myself making that rose gold watch. However, I quickly found that I did not do a good job recording it. It was hard to get everything in the right angles. What I'm doing instead of giving you that one, I am instead going to be providing you with a completely different build. One of the beautiful things about building your own watch is that you can create stuff that does not exist outside of your own imagination. This watch is an example of that. This is an Explorer case. I believe it is 38 millimeters, which is very nice on my wrist. I will show you. I've already showed you all my Explorer. This is the exact same case. Beautiful case. Beautiful bracelet. Decent quality. Feels really good on my wrist. Fits really well. And I had found these Yachtmaster dials very cheap. I bought them. They were only like $5 each. I bought a few of them, and I want a Milgauss lightning bolt secondhand. And that is exactly what I did here. And to be honest with you, I like it, but I don't like the dial. When the Seiko logo is printed on, as opposed to it being 3D, I think it comes off very cheap. I am not a fan of that. What I'm going to be doing today is disassembling this, taking off the hands, the dial, and getting it back down to its bare elements, which is what y'all will be starting with. And then we'll pretty much treat this as a fresh build. The only thing that you're not going to get from this video is I have already put the crown here on the stem with thread locker. You won't be able to see that process here, but I will be able to walk you through it. It is pretty easy. To start us off here, first and foremost is I'm going to take off this bracelet, which you'll have to do also if you end up getting something like this that has a bracelet. And we pop that off there. We got that out. Make sure that the spring bar doesn't go flying. Set it aside. It is always useful to have some little receptacle close by to put all any loose parts. This is something that I was not able to capture too well on the other side, but very important that you all see this. Inside the movement, obviously, if you are new to watch stuff, there are a bunch of different moving pieces in here. You don't need to know all what they are for what we're doing, because we're building watches with movements that are pre-assembled. That being said, there is a little tab here, a little button here. And when you push that down, it will allow me to pull this out completely. First thing I'm going to do is unscrew this. And then I'm going to pull this, push the button down, if I can find it. There it is. And what I do is I actually hold this down here, I put it up to my mouth, and I pull this out with my mouth. I've seen other people on YouTube do the same thing. There's probably better ways to do it, but that's what I do. Bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna once again get my presser here on here, and if you don't have a watch tool like this, I mean, you probably do if you've ever bought a band, but you need that as well. You could also use tweezers. I'm gonna push down there, and when I push down there, I was able to pull this out. Actually, the only thing that you guys are not going to get in this tutorial is how to cut this stem to size. Because when you actually get a movement, it doesn't come attached to a crown, it comes separately, and it comes with the full stem. And pretty much the idea is to cut it down and down and down until it fits in here perfectly, and then you screw the crown on, and you add a little bit of the thread locker so that it doesn't go anywhere. But at this point, we are pretty much starting with all the raw parts that y'all are gonna have. It's actually cool to do it like this, because then you're gonna see it backwards and frontward. This movement is in there pretty stinking good. I am going to find one of the little plastic corners here and get it out very gently. You're gonna be very gentle with all this stuff. I'm gonna flip it upside down, and there we do. We have our movement, and we have our dial and our hands on the movement, and of course we have our movement holder. I always put it this way, that the 3 o'clock is at this part of the opening, that you're able to still put in the stem if you need to. This is what a lot of you are going to be starting with. You're going to be starting with an empty case, and then of course you're going to have a movement. And again, we're working backwards here. What I'm going to do is actually put this crown and stem back in here. I know it's going to go in by the 3 o'clock. I'm going to push it all the way in. I think it's in. Oh, no, it's not. Here we go. There we go. Now it's in. Again, you just want to be really gentle, because if you push too hard, you can mess up the mechanism of the movement. Now that it's in, I'm going to initiate the pulling it out twice to get the hacking feature going. And we're going to do some surgery on this movement. What I'm going to do first, I showed you guys these in my video about the different tools and parts. I've been using this same one over and over again because it is clean and good, and I'm going to pretty much slide it in there that it is covering all of the hands. And I'm going to use this hand remover. There are also ones where you can, like you've seen in the Rolex videos, where you can go in and pry them off a little bit more gently. I use this because it works well. I don't have an issue with it, although sometimes the hands do go flying. First things first is the second hand came right off. Oh no, it didn't. That was the minute's hands. Okay, second hand is off. Minute hand next. And again, I'm gonna push it there in the center. And there we go. The minute hands is off. And I'm gonna rotate this to make sure. And the purpose of this little thing is so that you don't scratch the dial with whatever tools you're using to get hands off. Now this hour hand is on there pretty stinking good, which is a good thing. I'm gonna try to go underneath the hands truly here, and there we go. Okay, see the hand is still in there, but it is off. I'm actually doing like some reverse engineering here on this movement, which is cool. I have not really done this yet. Certainly have not done it on recording. And it looks like there's a little opening here in between the movement and the dial. I'm going to use that to pry this off, and there we go. It's coming off pretty smoothly, pretty easily, and the dial has been removed. There it is. Our movement is still in good shape. But yeah, we're ready to rock and roll here. This is really where the build is going to start, right? We are going to be starting our tutorial right now, and I am going to go through the majority of the processes to put your own watch together. There are 2 different parts that I'm actually going to link. I'm going to show you YouTube tutorials because I'm going to be putting the crown on the stem, as well as getting the hands on the movement. There are videos out there that explain it better than me at a much higher level of precision. Be mindful that those will not really be included here, but that you will have resources to do it. We are going to start off with all of our parts that I have advised you to purchase. We obviously have our beautiful NH35 movement in the movement holder. We have our dial. This is a dial that I purchased from AliExpress. I like it because it has a 3D logo. You can see it here, touch it, it is raised. Some of them do not have a 3D logo, and you can tell. For example, this Yachtmaster one that I had purchased, it was like super cheap. It has a printed logo. And the difference between the two, it's like night and day when you actually have it on your wrist and you're looking at it, at least for me. That is, as we've been discussing over and over again, this idea of quality and value. That is an element of quality that is very valuable for me. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing that we're gonna do is take off the bracelet from the case. I actually already did it using a tool like this. If you have changed a bracelet before, then you know how to do it. If not, then you can watch a YouTube tutorial on that. What we're gonna do is end up with this, right? One important thing that I do is I always take any parts. For example, this is the spring bar, and I try to put it in a safe space. I have a little receptacle over here that you can't see to make sure I don't lose it. First things first is we want to get this guy, the dial, on the movement. However, we are presented with an immediate issue. There are a few different ways to get this on, and you can see that there are 4 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do not need to put all 4 feet in here. The reason that there are 4 feet is because some watches have the pin at a different time. Like the SKX, it's gonna be closer to like something like this. The date will still be up there, but then it'll come out the side here. For this watch, the date is going to be at the 3 o'clock, and that is where our crown and stem is going to be as well. What I do is I actually have a sterile dial that I use as a guide. This was the first one that I used. Let me go find it for y'all. This here is a sterile dial, which means it is completely blank. And I have used this as practice on my first dial. And when I got it right, I kept it and I use it as a guide for the other dials. As we look at this, you will see that there is only 2 feet remaining, right? There's only 2 feet there. However, when you purchase a new dial, it does come with 4 feet. In very simple terms, what we want to do is I want to take off this foot and I want to take off this foot, right? Again, that is going to be this foot and that's going to be this foot. And I know that because the model that I have here doesn't have this foot, and it also doesn't have this foot. And I could see the little nubs there. I know that they were there and that they are no longer there. How am I gonna get these off? Well, I'm gonna use a pair of pliers, and I'm very simply gonna rock them back and forth until they come right off. Hopefully you do have a pair of pliers somewhere. I did not include that on the list of tools. However, you could use the little stem cutter that I used, but pretty much any type of pliers will work. And what I'm gonna do is, you'll see me do it right here, is first things first is I'm gonna I'm grabbing the foot. These are called dial feet. There's one here. I'm gonna take it and I'm going to pretty much rock it gently back and forth till it comes off. These are meant to accommodate the 2 different types of watches. They come off very easily. You have to be careful. That's one of them. And it is stuck on here. Let me get that on there. And now for the other one. Once again, I want it to line up with this one here. If we compare them, I know that I want to keep this upper one, right? And I have that here, and I got rid of this one, which is gone there. And now I want to keep this lower one here, and there was one right here. I want to get rid of this one to make these even. And if you're building a watch where the stem is going to be in the 3 o'clock zone, which the majority of them are, unless it's like an SKX situation, then this is how you're going to want to do it. Okay, I'm not super glad that this happened, but I'm also glad that this happened because it's a learning opportunity. For this one, there is a tiny little nub left over. Now, this one doesn't have a nub. I don't need to file it. This one has a very small nub. I probably could get away with leaving it, but I am going to file it a bit to make it smooth and easy, because we don't want any distance. I should probably move this movement over so that the filed dial doesn't go there. But we don't want any distance between the dial that is in my hand and the movement that this is going to get placed on. So I do this very gently, only right on the foot. I don't want to touch the glue on the back. And I'll be honest with y'all, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is much too complicated, much too dexterous for me, you're wrong. It is not complicated. I am not a very mechanical person, and I managed to put these together. If I can do it, you can do it. Now, the back here is smooth, right? And the pin locations are, you can see it, but you can't feel it. This is all smooth, right? I'm not worried about that. And the locations are the same as this one. I know it's gonna fit the right way. I am gonna do this to get any little pieces off, because the less dirt, the better for everything and everybody. What I'm gonna do here is take this, and this is one of the funnest and easiest parts. Really feels like your watch is coming together here. I'm gonna take this dial, and now I know it's gonna fit on the movement. I'm gonna place it there. It doesn't go on right away, right? But it will. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna try to find the holes. There are little holes that the dial goes into. There's one of them. You could, if you look at the movement up close, you can see that there are these little holes in the outer ring that are meant to fit the dial. That's where this is gonna go. And of course we want the date window lined up with the stem area, which is gonna be the 3 o'clock zone. Okay. First things first is I'm gonna get this in here, which is one of the holes. Again, you want to be gentle because you don't wanna mess up the movement or the dial or the feet. There we go. I got that hole in, and then I'm pretty much gonna squeeze it around. Now would probably be a good time to put this back here. And you just wanna make sure that it is flush. Flush with the movement, flush, flush, flush. Okay, cool. And we see that the date is fit well in there for the most part, it seems like. And yeah, you're gonna hear that term flush a lot in the video that I'm making, as well as the video that I'm gonna show you to put the hands on. And flush means that it is straight. If the two pieces are on top of each other like that, then it is flush. This, my friends, is flush. If I take a look at it, the dial is on the movement, right? I'm trying hard not to touch the rotor on the bottom. That is number one. Yeah, trimming the feet that are unnecessary. If your watch case looks like this, in the sense that your stem is going to be popping out at 3 o'clock, then you want to trim your feet like this. You get rid of the foot in between 3 o'clock and the next one up. And then on the other side, you want to get rid of the top one, the one that's closer to the right. And if you do that, then you're able to put your dial on the movement without any issues, and it's going to go on flush. What is next? Well, what is next is my least favorite part, which is the hands. The hands that I got for this are specific to the type of Seiko that this is modeled after, and they are beautiful hands. Of course, I did get 2 sets, like I always advise everybody to do. And this part usually takes me a good little while. I know that there are people who are very proficient at it. I am not one of those people, to be honest with you. It's very difficult for me to get hands on. The first thing you want to do before you put hands on is you want to make sure that the watch is at 12 o'clock a.m. how well you want to pull out the stem, that you're able to change the time, and you pretty much want to continue to go until it clicks and goes into the next date. That's what I'm doing right now. It's at 15, it's on the 15th. I'm gonna keep doing this until it clicks to the 16th, at which point I will know the watch is at 12 a.m. And it's starting to turn. I'm gonna go slower. It's probably around 11:30 or 11 or something like that right now. And there we go, it clicked. At this point, I know that the movement is set at 12. Since the movement is set at 12, I need to set the hands on there at 12 as well. What I'm gonna do is, I usually try a bunch of different ways to do this because, like I said, this is a big struggle for me still. The hour hand is usually the easiest for me, followed by the second hand, which has gotten easy over time. And for some reason, the minute hand still presents me the most trouble. That might be it, y'all. If we look, we can see it is on there. And then once it's rested on there, I'm gonna push it down. I'm gonna rotate it this way, that way I can maybe see the pin. This might be on it, but it feels like the second hand is jutting out a bit. Let me see if I can show you on the video. Again, we want everything to be flush. The second hand is not really flush with the movement right now. It's angled a bit. I'm gonna try to, and it's gotta be flush, because if it's not flush, it's not gonna fit in the case. Happens to be the Explorer cases do give you a little bit more wiggle room. They're a little bit more forgiving, but not that forgiving. Push it down a bit more. Let's see where we're at. I always let it run for a full minute first to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the hour hand or the minute hand. It is moving and grooving. Not 1,000% sure whether it's really on there. I guess it is. Once it goes through a full minute, what I'm gonna do is pull out the stem again and run through the rest of the hours. Once again, you need to make sure that they're not touching each other. Like these hands are not touching each other. Even if the second hand is a little bit not straight, which it might be now. It's looking better than it did before. As long as they're not touching each other and it fits in the case and it looks okay to the visible eye, it's okay in my book. And again, I don't sell these because I don't do perfection with these. I really don't. I'm just moving this and making sure that nothing's touching it. And since we set the clock at 12 last time and then affixed the minute hands there, you can see about 11:50 it switched over to the next day, which is once again fine with me. Yeah, I think this is okay. Let me run the hour hand, pass it again, 6 o'clock. Yeah, I think this is pretty much a-okay. Now that we have the dial and the hour hand and the second hand affixed to the movement in a way that works, we're not worried about the parts rubbing together, I'm going to set this off to the side and we're going to take our rubber ball and we're going to screw off the back of this case here. So this is already loose, so that was very easy. And now that we got that off, gonna do that there. And pretty much what we want to do now is make sure that there are no specks of dust in this thing. That's also going to be hard to capture on camera. What I do is I hold it up to the light like this and gotta see, is there any specks of dust in there? It looks like the front window is maybe a little bit foggy. Let me clean that first. Make sure. Okay. And then we're going to be spending a lot of time blowing air in here. If there are any specks of dust, we're going to get them out. And I'm not going to waste tons of time in this tutorial doing this. You can do this yourself. You pretty much continue to blow and blow and blow until you don't see any specks of dust with your eye. I always pull up the loop for this too to make sure. And yeah, this actually seems pretty clean. I don't see any. Most likely because I had already cleaned this, because this is more of a reassemble. I'm gonna put that back on there to protect it. I'm gonna move this over. And what we want to do now is get this movement and dial and hands inside here. Obviously, we can't do that with this stem and crown still in here. What we want to do is very carefully flip it upside down. And like I showed you before, in the beginning, there is a little nub right around here, this area, that you push down on, and then I pull the stem and the crown out with my mouth. The only thing is that you can't do that unless the second hand is ticking. Pretty much what I have to do is push this in, and then within the time that this comes around to touch my other finger, I need to get it out. You could hold it in a way that you're not timed to the second, but this is the way I do it. Again, once I click this, you should see a little piece pop out, and then I'm gonna press down on that piece with this thing, and I'm gonna pull this out with my mouth, because I don't have enough hands to do it. Boom, I did it. I see the little piece there that got picked up, and I'm going to, okay, got it out. Got it out the way I said I was gonna get it out. And the second hand is still moving and grooving, because it can't be in the hacking position. And everything is looking pretty good here. What I'm gonna do is blow this a bunch more to make sure that there's no dust there. I'm gonna blow this a little bit to make sure there's no dust there. And then what I'm pretty much gonna do is adopt it. That's what I call it, is where I pretty much push this over top and then scoot it into the case. And of course we want that dial, the date window, to line up over here. Right? And bada bing, bada boom, we have it. Exciting. Exciting to see it coming together like this. What I'm gonna do right now is you wanna push the movement into the case. And the reason you wanna do that is because if not, there will be space in between the dial and the glass. Obviously you want it even. Right now it is not even. I'm actually gonna take it out and do it again. And once again, I'm gonna gently push this in. I wanna make sure that this section here, which is the section that the stem goes in, I wanna make sure that lines up here, right? I wanna push. I'm gonna hold it there for a sec, see what is happening here. It doesn't really seem like it's fitting, I don't know why. Oh, there it goes. It dropped in a bit. And now that it dropped in on that side, I'm gonna gently push it down on this side. And again, gentle, gentle, gentle is the name of the game here. Gentle, patient. Here's the thing, if you look in the corner there by the 8, you will see that it is not pressed up against the case. You don't want that. You don't want any shadows. That's gonna be my indicator to let me know that the top seems pretty pushed up against it. There's no space there. But this side by the 8 is not. And it looks like this side also by like the 4 and the 5 is not. I'm gonna flip it back upside down. And again, very gently, I'm gonna tap both sides to push it down a bit. Push, 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 push in the middle. Let's see what that looks like. It's looking better, but it does look like there's some space now by the 3 o'clock. Gotta make sure that side's in. And yeah, we are getting there, y'all. Push, 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 push. And what I'm gonna do now to try and secure it in place a little bit is put the stem back in. And that will hopefully straighten it out a bit if straight enough to go in. It is. What does that do? Lets me know that the 3 o'clock is in the right place and holds that down while I do the rest of this. And again, I'm going into all these little corners. You could push on the plastic part of the movement. Don't touch the metal, because again, oh, there it is. Okay, there's that little piece in there in the corner. And now it's probably gonna be in all the way. And yeah, if we examine it, there is no space at any part of the dial. It is fully in, and that is quite exciting. Quite exciting. I have this stem that I already have a crown affixed to. We're not gonna worry about that right now. And what I'm gonna do is actually, I'm gonna close this right back up. I'm gonna start with my hands. And then I am going to close it up tightly with this. And I think this thing is ready to go, man. Look at that. Look at that beautiful son of a gun. I like this much better than the other dial I had in there. I mean, astronomically better. I like it much better. I do want to make sure that this crown is in the right way. Make sure it's positioned properly, and make sure I can screw that down. I sure can. This is it, y'all. Holy cow. The last part here, something that's already done on this watch that's not done on the watch that you're gonna have, is this crown. This crown obviously came on this case, right? And if you unscrew your crown from your brand new case, it's obviously not gonna have the stem to the movement attached to it. It's gonna be completely separate. The goal is to put the crown, first of all, let's check this out. I'm gonna take the spring bar and put it back in. And I'll actually go through the crown thing in just a second. Let's do this first, because this is exciting, y'all. This is the best part of the watchmaking experience. When you finish getting all your parts together, you finish the difficult, tedious things like the hands. And you get it in there and you wear it on your wrist. It's very fun. Y'all, this is the watch on the wrist. And I'll tell you that this is the most rewarding part of everything, is you get to see this thing move, you get to see it groove, and that the terrible suffering that you went through to wait 3 weeks from AliExpress, terrible suffering that you went through tracking the number through chinapost.com and guessing the days of when your post service was going to receive it. The terrible suffering that you went through in getting these hands on the right way. It's all worth it once it's on your wrist. And this feels good to me, y'all. This feels really good to me. Like, I can't wait to wear this. Like, I really can't. This is something I'm gonna wear. Okay, now I want to show you what the deal is with the crown. The watch that I put together, which was this guy here, was a rebuild. These were not parts that I got brand new. However, you wouldn't know that, right? Because I had everything disassembled. The only thing that was already pre-configured that I did not cover in the video is attaching the crown to your stem. I'm going to cover that now with a brand new case. When you purchase your case, right, whatever case you ended up buying, you are going to have a crown that looks like this. This happens to have the S logo on it. Most of them do not. This is for a Presage build that I'm going to do. But yeah, you're going to have a crown like this that is not attached to a stem. Your movement, your NH35 movement, is going to come with something like this sticking out of it, right? It's going to start off your movement, and then it's going to have this sticking out at 3 o'clock. After you put the dial and the hands on, you could put this back in, but when you actually put it in the watch, you're going to want to get your stem, a new stem, because it actually comes with this, and it comes with a new stem, and you're going to want to get this on your crown, which is going to go into the movement. These are meant to screw on there, right? We'll screw it on there. Cool, no big deal. The only issue is that this is way too long. If we put this in here, it will most likely fit, but you will see very quickly that if you try to put that into the movement like that, it's going to be way too long. It won't fit. When you put it in the movement, it's only going to go out a certain amount of space, and pretty much what you need to do is trim the distance between the case where the crown screws into and your crown. This is my first watchmaking tutorial. Hopefully you got something from it, and hopefully, more importantly than that, you are able to look at other resources as well. There are many different videos of people doing this online, on YouTube, on Reddit, on Facebook. I didn't see anybody doing it on TikTok, and I wanted to bring it to y'all. But this is what I have for you now, and hopefully it is a good enough tutorial to get your feet wet and really to jump in. Like I mentioned before, I am here to answer questions, and like I said, the process of going from imagining a watch in your head, ordering the parts, going through the painstaking process of waiting for everything to come, and then assembling it and getting those hands on, to being able to wear it on the wrist, like it feels so much more rewarding to wear this out in public than it would to wear a regular Seiko that I bought. This is, again, 38mm Explorer case. We have the S dial there with the special hands. I believe this is imitating an Alpinist, even though they don't make Alpinists with these silver dials. And I mean, this is cool. Like, I feel good about this. Hopefully y'all can enjoy this journey as well. And yeah, talk to y'all soon. Take care.